Where should addiction treatment centers be located in New Bedford?
Excuse me? Jack?
Where should addiction treatment centers be located in New Bedford?
Out of neighborhoods.
Whereabouts?
Not in the backyard of anybody's neighborhood.
Right,
Now we,
say where they should not be
okay,
located.
oh, the
Where
one,
should they?
okay, do you want to be specific about the one in Ward 5? Are you asking me about that? That's not a treatment addiction center, that's where somebody would go to get a prescription. I'm against it from being there, if that's what you want.
No, I'm looking for where they should be located, not where they should not be located.
Out of neighborhoods, not in someone's backyard. They have one down here in the south end, at the, one of the mills, am I correct, right? Yeah, okay, well, that's where they belong. They shouldn't be in someone's backyard. I don't know how more specific I can be on that issue. They don't belong in someone's neighborhood. Anything else you want to ask me on that?
Thank you.
Okay.
Same question.
Well, I think you know where I stand on this. I don't believe that they belong in the neighborhoods, in residential neighborhoods. We are believers in the city of treatment, and what has been put upon our city and many other cities is no fault of anyone but the producers of the drugs and what is going on with a lot of people. But to take them out of the element and take them out of the city, and not completely out of the city, but to an industrial area or somewhere away from where all the activities are, to put them where they are in the position that they are, that's what I feel is the most appropriate. I like the North End location, I like the South End location, and as a city councilor, this is not the first time dealing with this issue. We've dealt with it for a couple of times, and I am one of them councilors to step forward telling these organizations we would always be an open hand and to help them find a suitable location. But residential neighborhoods is not where you go, and residential neighborhood is not where you bring these people to, whether it's in the West End, historical area, South End, you just don't.
Same question, Councilor Warren. Industrial zones, is that where addiction treatment centers?
Or in commercial zones, but not in a backyard. The problem with them going in a residential backyard is what happens a year after the establishment is in place. And we've seen that over and over. Yes, everybody says, yes, we're going to police, yes, we're going to do this, yes, we're going to do that. But a year down the road, when nobody's watching, that's when we have the problems. People in the city pay taxes. They bought those homes in that area knowing that they were living in a residential neighborhood, and to place a treatment or an addiction center in that neighborhood after someone's purchased the home is not correct in my mind. So there are commercial districts in the city where we have plenty of traffic going by on a regular basis. There's bus routes going by to those locations for those people that need the treatment and don't have the ability to get there. That's where they belong. They don't belong somewhere where there are children or where there are elderly people who are established in that neighborhood. And I'll do whatever I can, and as Councilor Gomes said, we've done this twice before, to help people locate in an area where it's appropriate. I've done that myself in the North End twice now. That's what we should do, to work together to make sure that they're going where they are not going to disturb a residential neighborhood.
I can agree pretty much with what the councilors and the candidate has said. But what amazes me is when it came to the marijuana, they put all these hoops in the way where they had buffers and zoning. How come this hasn't been done for this situation? We've been through this before. This isn't like this is anything new. This is old news. This has happened before. We've had the residents come in front of the city and be upset about this type of business locating near their homes. I would think the best way to resolve it would be to create some sort of zoning or buffer, not allowing these type of businesses to be near homes, near schools, just like they did with the cannabis.
I guess I'll just, for the rest of the people, add a caveat. Is it safe to have addiction treatment centers in industrial zones?
I don't know. I mean, that's a good question that you would have to maybe speak. What do you mean by not safe? I don't understand.
Well, industrial zones, there's a lot of stuff that goes on. I know we have a addiction treatment center down by the tire recycling center. It's
No, I'm thinking more like down in the north end, near the old theater, that area, off of the Kings Highway. That's set back, not near the houses or anything. But you know, that's just one example. You know, the council should have a list by now, I would think, of locations that is proper. But like I said, to prevent it from being right next door to homes, you could use a zoning to combat that.
Could you repeat the question?
Where should addiction treatment centers be located in Bedford? What I'm trying to get at, Councilor Carney, is a lot of our neighborhoods in Bedford are a mixture of residential and commercial areas. I think the one in Ward 5 is like that. So, you know, we have a large opioid addiction problem in Bedford. So the question is, you know, most neighborhoods will not want this, so where can we go?
Well, you're right. We do have a large opioid problem in the city. But these treatment facilities are not only for New Bedford residents. They're from everywhere. So my suggestion is maybe we should look at Fons Corner Road and different places where we need to talk to these treatment facilities and try to help them locate in other places that are wooded and not in residential neighborhoods. We've got kids on bikes, we've got grandmothers, we've got people walking who want to feel safe walking, and they don't feel safe if there's a treatment plant in the neighborhood because you are bringing people with addictions in, and you do not want that exposed to your children. We're trying to keep the children away from this, so residential neighborhood, absolutely not. There are places in New Bedford, and we do have to work on zoning. As the councils, we've been speaking about that now, looking into something so we can stop this in the future. We do not want to stop treatment. We do not want to stop all this thing. We want to help the addict because everybody, I know that everybody has somebody, whether it's a brother, sister, cousin, uncle, aunt, mother, who is addicted to opioids, and they need help. We have to look at the guys up in Boston and the federal government because they're the ones who pulled that money back for the places that we had and facilities. We had Taunton opened up there where we used to send people. So we need to find other places. Thank you.
This is quite the question considering we want to get reelected, right? So I say it like it is. I've been one of the ones that has been saying that we have so many overdoses in the city of New Bedford with repeat overdoses. In the same day, 24 hours, somebody can OD 3-4 times. I've seen it. It's not a pretty sight. I try to bring through the council about St. Luke's having a facility in there where at least they keep them for 24 hours to evaluate them. They don't do that. They want them out of there. Nobody wants to deal with these people. They're pretty messy. I understand that. I also live in a neighborhood where I've seen it all. And I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of good people that do drugs. This is where we're at. So I've been an advocate to try to get treatment in New Bedford. We also have state level and federalism, which allows the right of travel. So you can get treated in New Bedford even if you don't live in New Bedford because after all, we do have a hospital. We're not going to ask you where you're from before we treat you. So it's very difficult for me, and I've been really struggling with this. I understand that people don't want it in their backyards. That's the natural reaction. But these are not bad people. They deserve treatment. Everybody that's addicted, wherever there's people, there should be treatment centers. And I don't want to marginalize these folks that need that. I'm very compassionate about that. And I know it's election year, and I know I'm probably going to lose votes with it, but let's not be afraid to give people treatment because the ones that want treatment are the ones with the greatest hope for a good future like we all have. Thank you.
Everyone wants to say not in my backyard, but that's where the problem is. I look out my window, actually, I live right next to you, and we need a treatment center there. But it's not popular. So I think the most appropriate place for a treatment center is gonna be right next to City Hall.
So obviously, this is a very serious subject when it comes to opiates and the issue that's going on. So if we set aside that for a second, which we all know there are a lot of issues that we need to deal with. It didn't happen in a day, and it won't be cured in a day. The question, I believe, is really about where it should go. And one of the questions I have is, we have a lot of folks up here that have said it should be in certain areas, but the zoning has yet to be passed. So I think it's time the city council get on this. And if I get elected, it will be something that I will work on. There are two issues when it comes to locations. Number one is where to locate it, and number two is to have hard discussions with some of our surrounding cities and towns who bring people into the city for these types of recovery programs, and they don't necessarily take responsibility for their own people. And when I say their own people, I mean their residents. We have residents we need to take care of, and we should have some discussions with some of the surrounding communities about the residents they should help take care of too. This shouldn't be an all on New Bedford thing. We shouldn't have to expend all of our resources. We should be doing this in partnership together. And zoning is what needs to happen in this city to take care of this particular issue.
So like a lot of you, my family has had issues with opiates. I very nearly lost my first cousin. He got addicted to pain pills, and that's how it generally starts. And without a prescription to continue on with those pain pills, he had to get heroin on the street. He lost his family, he lost his home. He had $1 million masonry business, all gone. He didn't even care about it. He was stealing pocketbooks out of the Panthers Club, and he used to be one of the vice presidents of that club. So that just destroyed him, okay? Now, where would we put a treatment facility? Obviously, from a geographical standpoint, nobody wants it in their backyard. And it's not something that we want to have sticking out downtown, okay? We need to keep it away from children, and away from businesses, and especially away from residents. So the logical place, in my opinion, would be on Pope's Island. Heck, we even have the old Foxy Lady that's just sitting there unused. That's the most isolated place in the city away from residents, I think. But again, we have to, if that's not an option, we need to zone and work on zoning. And if I'm elected, I would be more than happy to work with the other city councilors to, figure this out.
So we don't want to marginalize folks who have suffered from addiction and who need help. Like many on this table, many in this room, I too have personally dealt with the unfortunate situation regarding opiate addiction in my personal family, and it's a very awful matter that we all have to deal with. And these are all human beings who need passionate, compassionate help and care. I think we all can agree with that. My concern, and I was at the meeting last Saturday at the Law Library with a few other of my colleagues, we're talking about public safety, making sure that these spots are zoned correctly in the right areas of the city so that the individuals who do need this treatment, do need this help, they're not off the beaten path, they can get easy access to and from, but they're not in the back door of a child or an elderly resident. I think that's the key. There'll be plenty of planning board and zoning board meetings ahead. And I think the role of a legislator is to listen to both sides, the proponents and opponents, when these go before the appropriate boards, and then communicate with our constituency what's happening in the next steps. I think that's very important.